Morning, everyone. There we go. Morning, everyone. Now, I apologize in advance because it didn't quite print out how I wanted it to, and it's really small. I had to go dig out my glasses, so just bear with me. So, I'd just like to thank Danny for inviting me here today. He saw me speak at the Value of Alberta conference, and when he asked me today to speak, he said, I can't remember everything he said, but I knew I was impressed. And all I could think of was, oh God, I fooled one guy there. But so he asked me to speak here today to speak on municipal autonomy and why we are where we are as a society. This moves a lot. I'm not trying to dance around any questions. I'm not that kind of politician. But so when we talk about Western alienation and this West versus East divide, I think it's really important that we incorporate the municipality level of government in those discussions, because to me it's the most important level. Within our own Municipal Governance Act in Alberta, it outlines the responsibilities of local government and its councils. It's to maintain the safety, health, and welfare of the people and protect the people and protection of people and property. Oh, geez, there it goes. While I do my best to carry out those responsibilities, it's becoming very hard due to the interventions of other levels of government and other municipal governments that completely go against the welfare, safety, and prosperity of my residents. And right there is the root of the problem, and the reason I, as a municipal councillor, advocate for more regional autonomy. Centralized government. Blanket policies and laws that don't depict the diverse cultural and economic needs of a region, the provincial welfare system that we call equalization, and the increased pandering to minority groups that hold up the economic interests of certain regions. All of these filter down and have a huge effect on the local level of government and its people. But something I only touched on in January at the Value of Alberta conference is how to fix that problem. And if we go back in time, my great-great-grandfather moved to Gleason from Ireland in 1887. And he moved there in hopes to create a better life for himself and his family. Luckily enough, I'm living his legacy. But many of these settlers didn't believe that bureaucrats and politicians thousands of miles away, some that have never even seen the West, should have more control over everything in an individual's life than the individual themselves. They believe that the decisions should be made I don't have COVID, I apologize. They believe the decisions should be made closer to home by the men and women that understand the nature of the region. They believe that in a limited, decentralized governing system. However, those values that built the foundation up for the future, values of limited government and self-determination, are becoming less and less common with each day. And now, with such a disconnect with the majority of Westerners and the federal government, I think it's time that we get back to those original ideas. The idea that brings the decision-making power closer to the people in order to enhance public service by improving accountability and responsiveness to the government, from the government to the citizens, rather than, like today, having local officials being more accountable to their superiors in higher levels of government. Now, don't get me wrong. I love these conferences and all the different ways to express our dissatisfaction with the current situation. But it's not enough believing and advocating in limited government and self-determination. It isn't enough. We have to stand up for it. We have to fight for it, and we have to be willing to die for it. Now, don't take that the wrong way. I'm not advocating for violence. We should not channel our inner Irish and create an Alberta Republican army. But I think it is time to remind younger generations that some principles are worth dying for. It wasn't that long ago before young men and women volunteered to go across the seas in order to fight and sometimes die for those shared principles. Sadly, though I am part of the younger generation, it's not just us that have this problem. Today, we have politicians of all stripes in all areas of this country and province that continue to compromise those very principles. Why? To stay in office. And there's been mentions of certain Albertan politicians that is directed to them, those in government right now. I see it at a local level all the time. We have a number of councillors in my municipality and neighboring ones, we can think of a few of them, that if they felt pressured, they'll vote whichever way the wind blows, which is wrong. We can't expect to fix the problems we're facing and create a better future for our children if we can't stand up for the values and principles that have gotten us this far. I ask you, what is a man without principles? But even worse yet, what is a man who doesn't stand up for his principles? He is no man. Those aren't the men that would have built this great province. Those aren't the men that crawled through the muddy trenches in the fight for freedom. Those aren't the individuals we need in government. But if those aren't the men and women who can fix the system and return the power back to the people, who are they? The answer is within the question: the people. Individuals that aren't worried about winning re-election, those that understand there needs to be more action than debate, more consequences than threats, and more integrity in politics. We must embrace the achievement of the men and women of the past and stand up for their principles and values which built this province and the society we know today. So I didn't set up a big PowerPoint or anything like that, and that's strictly just what I think of when I look at the situation we're facing today. And though it's not super tied to municipal politics, everything filters down to the grassroots people, the people in Northeast Calgary, in Cypress County, in Beaver Hill County. All of those decisions that we make at a federal level, provincial level, come down and affects my residents. And if I don't have the right to stand up and fight for their values, where are we as a society? So that's all I got, but I'll take any questions afterwards.